Beating Cyberpunk 2077 without Cyberware is a challenge that I overcame pretty easily in a video I think you should watch. But Update 2.0 changes everything, and I received a lot of requests to do the challenge again on said update. So now it is time to ask the question, can you beat Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty without Cyberware? Loading into the save file from my last video, I went to the menus immediately because we have two very important things to do. Update 2.0 has completely rebuilt the game's skill trees, so I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board for my build. I want to keep my melee build going, but I'm going to have to make some different choices to deal with the fact that in 2.0, armor is no longer determined by your clothing. It is determined by your cyberware. My plan is to focus on health regen and mitigation. There are new perks that make it so that dashing gives a 100% mitigation chance, and one that makes moving quickly make it harder for enemies to shoot you. These two should be perfect. I also grabbed some health regen perks, and now it's time to move on to our second problem. In the switch from version 1.0 to 2.0, the game has given me a bunch of unwanted and unneeded cyberware, so I've got to head to a Ripperdoc and hope that the new update allows you to remove cyberware. Luckily for this run, it has, and even more thrilling, the game now lets me unequip my ballistic coprocessor. The only thing that I wasn't able to get rid of was my Kiroshis, so I just swapped them for the base model and waited around for the DLC to start. I got a call from a mysterious stranger named Songbird. She told me to meet her by the Dogtown entrance for a job, and that in return for helping, she will be able to help me with the whole Silverhand situation. In order to really earn my trust, Song decided to put me and Johnny through some excruciating pain, just so that she can use the relic to have a fancy phone call with me. She also got Johnny to piss off before telling me that she is on board Space Force One with none other than the President of the United States, Joe Biden. Space Force One just so happens to be crashing into Dogtown right now, and it's up to me and me alone to save the President. To help me with my mission, Song has given me access to a new perk tree powered by the relic. But using the relic for perks kind of feels like using cyberware to me, so we will not be using any of those perks. To get into Dogtown, I snuck past some security, used my personal link, which I don't count as using cyberware for this challenge for reasons I will explain much later, went through a platforming area which was a lot easier when I did it with my bionic legs in an off-camera playthrough, and arrived undetected in the Dogtown market. Now that I'm in Night City's very own perpetual warzone / black market, my next task is to go up and climb myself to a nice vantage point to watch Space Force One crash from. I may have gotten a little bit too close, but it turned out great anyway, because I got to go down a slide on my way to rescue Joe from the crash site. Kurt Hansen, Dogtown's leader, also wants to get his grubby little mitts on the President, so I'm going to have to fight through a bunch of his forces on my way to the crash site, really giving a trial by fire to my new no cyberware build. Most of the run over was pretty easy because I'm able to run past most of the enemies without getting hit much because of that perk I took earlier, and when I do have to fight, I was able to single out targets and render them helpless to my attacks by keeping them constantly stunned by my katana. At the crash site, I found something truly upsetting. The President is not, in fact, Joe Biden, and even worse than that, she is a woman. President Rosalind Myers. And she needs my help to get out of Dogtown. One problem though, a bunch of enemies have arrived at the crash site and pinned us down, and taking an aggressive approach isn't going to work due to my whole complete lack of armor. So to take out the big ass robot and his buddies, I just hid in the plane and slowly shot at it from cover while healing often until it eventually went down, making it safe enough for me to push in and take out the rest of them with my blade just how I like it. Reinforcements arrived, but they too fell to the 1-2 punch of my pistol and my katana. And now it's time to talk to the president and plot and/or scheme a plot and/or scheme to get her to safety. Turns out we don't need a plot or a scheme anyway, because Songbird has already flagged a safe house for us to hide in, so we started running over there straight away. On the way, I stole a chunk of the president's throat and got caught seriously lacking while trying to sneak past some drones and had to fight my way out of the building, which was kind of hard. I was sitting on about 50 health for most of the fight, which was very stressful because a few hits at that health would be enough to wipe me out of the picture due to my squishy organic state. But I pulled through and started sneaking through the streets to the safe house. I really don't have the patience to be sneaking though, so I got caught and ran over to the garage door I need to go through, hoping that I would be able to kill all of my pursuers and enter the door without any sneaking required. This was not the case. I fought through an ever-growing presence of Barghest soldiers until I realized it just wasn't working and stole one of their cars to get away. The getaway worked, and this time I was successfully sneaky on my way to the safe house. So now we are safe, the president is saved, the DLC is over, and there will be no more threats to deal with. That was a lie. They followed us, and now we are at a dead end. Luckily, Song has some kind of scheme to help us get out of this pickle, so I just need to survive while she pulls that off. Surviving is one word for what I do here, but a better one perhaps is thriving. Against all odds, I'm managing to be a brutally efficient killing machine in combat, even without the armor provided to me by Cyberware. I didn't expect this, but I sure am glad about it. I can only hope that things stay at this nice level of difficulty for the rest of the run. Anyway, Song's scheme was to activate this big-ass not-so-gentlemanly robot and get it to deal with Barghest for us. One small problem, Song got a little bit fried by something, and now the president and I have to deal with the robot instead of just some squishy little people. Plan A is to run, and we sure did run. Unfortunately, we ran out of places to run, so I collapsed the building, leaving me and the Chimera to plummet down below. And that seems to have done the trick. Things aren't always as they seem though, and the robot is still alive, and it's up to me to rectify that. This was a pretty easy fight when I did it outside of this challenge, but not being able to scan means that the weak points on this stupid battlebot are very hard to spot, and therefore very hard to see. So the first phase of the fight was slow, as I had to shoot the bastard all over and find the weak points to shoot through trial and error, rather than anything actually reliable. After that though, the fight was pretty easy. The closest I came to dying was fighting off some drones, not even our main big boss. And after they were dealt with, the rest of the fight was as simple as running around in a circle, shooting until the Chimera fell over. With that done, we have a meeting place with Songbird set. We just have to hope that she is able to get there in spite of whatever shenanigans she has gotten involved in. On the bright side, Somi being gone means Keanu Reeves is back, and he's here to bitch and whine in my ear just like I've always wanted him to. The rest of the trip to the hideout we're meant to meet Song at was uneventful. But at the hideout, we are hit by a two-pronged fork of bad luck. Somi is not here, and I need to get the generator working. The game says to scan to figure out how to get power, but I thought the fact that I already knew what I needed to grab would save me here. But the battery-powered robot is not interactable until you scan it. So, if you count scanning as using Cyberware, then I just failed the challenge, and you cannot beat Phantom Liberty without Cyberware. But not all of you will think that, and I still want to play through the whole DLC, so we will be continuing. The president and I grabbed a couple beers and started listening to Kurt Hansen insist that he isn't involved in this whole situation over the radio, when we heard footsteps approaching our hideout. They don't sound like Songbird to me, so I feed them both a bowl of cereal, but instead of cereal it was bullets. Instead of milk, it was a sword, and instead of a bowl, it was a garbage chute. With them dealt with, Myers and I went to sleep, planning to make a plan for what to do next in the morning. The plan is simple. We activate an NUSA sleeper agent in Night City and get him to help us find Songbird. But before that can happen, I need to swear a solemn oath to the NUSA and President Myers. I don't have any intentions to honor this oath and only did it to annoy Johnny, but I'm never telling him that. With my oath taken, I grabbed my FIA agent coin and headed over to the Captain Caliente restaurant to call for Solomon Reed. I used my buff and oily Cyberware free body to bust open the door, shot some mines that were in my way, and rang Reed. His voice sounds strangely familiar, but I can't place why yet. He told me to meet him at a basketball court nearby, so I did, and he stuck a gun between my ribs. Fortunately, he quite likes my presidential coin and will meet me in a less aggressive way over by his car. It was at the car that I realized that the reason he sounds so familiar is because he is Idris Elba. But I got confused in my last Cyberpunk video between Johnny Silverhands and Keanu Reeves, so this time I'm going to check the wiki just in case. Okay, he is Solomon Reed, not Idris Elba. I promise that I will not mess that up. I talked with the president and Sol back at the hideout, and he's going to be spending a couple days getting the president back to Washington and doing some reconnaissance. That's fine by me because I also have a very important task to get done. This old outfit of mine is nice, but I'm growing bored with it, and it is time for me to channel Winston McCall and absolutely slay with this new outfit. When Reed called me back, the task we have to do to find Songbird is to find their old friend Alex in a bar in Dogtown and get her to help as well, because we are absolutely useless. She doesn't want to help. In fact, she seemed a lot closer to killing Reed than helping us, but I did manage to convince her to join the mission by promising her a spy's retirement on a beach somewhere. She has a lead for us to follow, which is better than Reed had managed. We need to ask a Voodoo Boys netrunner named Slider, who owes the FIA a favor to search the net for any trace of Songbird. He is not going to want to do this, so we will be making sure that he has absolutely no choice in the matter. I agreed with Idris Elba that we should try to get to Slider without instigating violence. I was lying. I instigated violence by telling the VDBs that I killed my mom Brigitte and saying something rather rude on my way out. This shouldn't be any trouble though. Wiping out an entire group of Voodoo Boys is a dance that I have danced before, way back in the Pacifica section of my last Cyberpunk video. Now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure I said I was going to leave Pacifica never to return. I guess that was a lie, seeing as Dogtown is technically part of Pacifica. Anyway, it didn't take much convincing for Slider to agree to help us. He immediately regretted that when he plugged into me and found out that Songbird has been using the Blackwall to communicate with me, as well as a host of other less friendly things. We kind of have his balls in a vice here though, so he plugged back in, allowing So-Me to get back in contact with me. She told me that Kurt Hansen has captured her, and to do some rescuing we need to get into a party that Dearest Kurt is throwing soon. Then she fried Slider's balls right out of our vice and into the eternal nothingness of death. On the way out, some more Voodoo Boys came to try to kill me, but even with my continued lack of armor, I took them out just as easily as I took out their friends earlier. Now Idris Elba and fuck! I thought I wasn't going to do that. Solomon Reed and I need to find a way into Kurt Hansen's little gathering, and I know someone hailing from Enumclaw, Washington, who just might be able to help. That's right, I gave none other than Mr. Hands himself a call, and he says that he can help me, but first I need to do some jobs for him. So the next thing on our list of tasks will be to complete 3 gigs for Mr. Hands. For the first gig, I need to take a Zetatech prototype and its blueprints back from some scavs. There were a lot of scavs, but it couldn't have been easier to kill them all. I really expected beating the game with no cyberware to be a lot harder on Update 2.0. I was expecting to spend hours on every fight, constantly loading saves and dying in a few shots, but it's been pretty chill. I can block bullets with my sword, stun enemies up close, have insane health regen, and they can barely hit me while I'm moving. Once I cleared them out, an unfortunate revelation was made. This dickhead has gone and put the prototype into his head, and to make things even more annoying, he wants me to let him run off with it, because Zetatech aren't exactly a big fan of his antics. I let him leave, not because he deserved it, but because I could not be bothered carrying him to the car myself. Maybe if I had some cyberware, that wouldn't be a problem, but without it, it's a lot of effort. So I just sent Mr. Hands the blueprints and closed the gig. For our next trick, I need to find and kill some blackmailing VDV prick named Milko. I'm not here to waste time, so I started fighting my way through the building to get to him immediately. The voodoos weren't hard to kill, but they're not meant to be. The real challenge is meant to come from some robots in the next area of the building. The fight consists of a boss robot and a bunch of normal robots. I really thought I had the boss at the start, but then the sucking went invisible and nearly killed me. It nearly killed me a lot of times, but I just got the adrenaline perk, and it came in ridiculously clutch for me, and I managed to take out the metal bastard without even dying once. A Netwatch agent was with Milko and wanted me to spare him, so I just killed them both and let Mr. Hands know that the job is done. That leaves one more gig to go. This time, I have to help some cops that have been captured by Hanson's smelly boys to get out of the old Pacifica police station safely. Sneaking through the station to get to the cops wasn't hard. They've got themselves in a classic cocaine swallowing kerfuffle, all too common in my line of work. All I need to do is sneak back down to the garage to their car so that we can make our escape. Getting to the garage was pretty trivial, but once there, Dodger, one of Hanson's lieutenants, showed up to ask some questions about what we're doing here. We lied, he didn't believe us, and I killed him. With that gig done, Mr. Hands gave me a call and told me that I get to meet him in person over at the Heavy Hearts Club. You don't get to see his face though. You didn't do shit to earn it. I was the one that did all those gigs, so I'm the only one that gets to see his beautiful face. He has provided tea and blueprints to the Black Sapphire that should help us sneak in. I called Reed and sent him the blueprints, then headed back to the Moth to plan our plan. Before we get to planning, Reed filled me in on his tragic backstory and told me that he also knows what it's like to be a dead man walking, which I doubt. Anyway, the plan is simple. All I do is go for a little swimmy swim, then do a little computer hack, and finally, I snipe some people. And then we should be at the party. There's nothing else left to do, so I grabbed all the gear in the room and headed over to the service tunnel I need to swim through. The swimming stage of the plan went swimmingly, and the next room had a couple people that I killed nice and sneakily, so that I can look at the cameras and watch Reed sneak in on his end. Next up is sniping. I have to guide Reed through this area through the scope of my sniper. Unfortunately, I need to scan the bridge that he needs to lower. And I was going to say that technically it's the sniper, not my Kuroshi's doing the scanning, but the objective for the quest specifically says that it's the Kuroshi's. So that sucks, this game sucks, but we must continue. I nearly managed to get Idris through all nice and sneaky, but right at the end I messed it all up. And now I just have to shoot my way through this situation. Being in a sniper's nest where no one can really hit me makes it pretty easy though. So now me and Reed are reunited and party bound. Songbird never actually said what we should do when we get to the party. So now we just get to wander around and pretend that we're here to party. It didn't take long for her to send me a text with her location in it though. But she has some unfortunate news for us. She has no intentions on leaving the party with us tonight. Hanson has what we both need to save our lives, because that whole Blackwall thing is killing her, just like Johnny is killing me. She has a new plan though, but before she could tell us, Kurt Hanson himself came and interrupted us. So Me gave me a tap on the head to re-establish the relic link and told me about the plan. She needs us to impersonate 2 netrunners at this party, then go to a meeting with Hanson involving the Cure doohickey and break her out then, as well as stealing the thingamabob. I filled Reed in on the plan, and he filled me in on the fact that he has deduced that Songbird was behind the Space Force 1 crash. And I mean, that's so true. It literally was her. But we are going to be saving her anyway, because otherwise, what else would we do? Our next move is to scan the Netrunner twins over at the roulette table and get an imprint of their personality so that we can pretend to be them later. I was worried about the whole scanning thing, because believe me, I am trying to not use my Kuroshis, but hopefully Idris Elba can handle that. Unfortunately, he ghosted on us, so I will have to use my Kuroshis. These two are insufferable, so I really hope that they lose all their money playing this game. I really want them to lose all their money, so I made a deal that we both go all in on opposite colours. It's the FIA's money anyway, so it doesn't matter to me what the outcome is. I won, and that means that they lost. Unfortunately, Kurt is back and he is on to the whole me being an FIA agent thing, but he's going to let us leave. So honestly, I consider this party a success, outside of the fact that I had to use my Kuroshis twice. I waited a day for Reed to call me, and he says to meet at the Moth again, like some kind of lamp, to go through his new plan. The plan is for me to hijack the car rental company that the twins are using while in Night City, and track their car to kidnap them on their way to the meeting. Then, right as I'm feeding the access codes to the cure thingy, we kill Hanson and rescue Songbird, making our escape and finishing this whole operation. Hijacking the rental company's system was super easy. I just had to drive around to a couple little towers, plug into them and hack their systems. My next task is a little bit more problematic though. Songbird wants me to go against Reed and help her escape without him. She also admitted that she was in fact behind the Air Force One crash. And honestly, that's not very nice, so I don't think I'm going to side with her. Totally not for other reasons to do with endings. After that lovely meetup with Somi, comes the part of this challenge that I have been dreading. I need to go to a Ripper clinic to get a facial implant in order to continue the DLC. There is no way around this. It's not something that I'm willing to just wave away like having to scan things with my Kuroshis in my last Cyberpunk video. This is a failure. You cannot beat Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty without Cyberware. But we still don't have any combat Cyberware equipped. So now, it's time to ask the question, can you beat Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty without combat Cyberware? While I was getting my new faceplate installed, Reed had the Ripper give me a piece of software I can use to incapacitate Songbird when I meet up with her. Because she doesn't just want to betray him, Reed wants to betray her as well, taking her into FIA custody whether she wants to go or not. And it's up to me to decide whose betrayal will succeed. Good thing I've decided that this is going to be specifically no combat Cyberware from now on, because my next task is to scan for the twins' cars, because that hacking from earlier was a bit shit and did not work. I did find their car though and followed it to a garage, hopping in the boot so that I can hijack its controls and drive it to a garage that is much more suited to our needs. Our needs, of course, are to mercilessly slaughter them like the French people they are, wear their skin and take their places, like all the good guys do. Now that Alex and I are all good with our elaborate Skinwalker roleplay, it's time for us to head to the stadium to meet up with Hanson and take back Songbird. I'm going to have to sit with Hanson for a while before I can make contact with her though. It's all going pretty well. Our disguises are holding up, all we have to do is stay in character. Luckily, all of the important details about said character are on my screen the whole time. Songbird came up to us and I went back down with her to choose a person to betray. I chose to betray her, but she seems to have decided that's not going to work and started going absolutely slasher villain mode with the Black Wall, killed Alex and tried to kill me. This is going to be an issue, because not only is our cover completely blown, my little no armor having ass is going to have to fight itself out of the arena. The first little bit of the fight was weird. I used a revolver and throwing knives instead of the gameplay that I've gotten used to, because my weapons are kind of over in this locker. But I've got them now, and I sure am overusing the blocking bullets thing so hard. I didn't realize it when I took the perk, but this thing is absolutely insane and makes melee more fun in this game than it ever was on Update 1.0. The fight to the exit of the stadium was long and hard, but as a special reward, Kurt Hansen has confronted me at said exit, and he is not being very easy to kill. I lied. He was actually very easy to kill, but there's still the SoMe issue though. So I hopped into a car with Reed and we watched MaxTac pick her up, because if she hasn't gone cyber psycho, no one has. Now, we need to take her back from MaxTac. I honestly don't know if this situation could be more fucked, but at least I don't have much cyberware. My part in getting her back from MaxTac is to find a nice and trustworthy netrunner to help us find the convoy she will be on. I tried calling Carol from the Elder Caldos, but she said no. Mr. Hands though, Mr. Hands got me like he got Boeing engineer Kenneth D. Pinion and has hooked me up with a netrunner. So I've just got to go meet her in Kabuki to get the data we need. Before that though, I went to a Ripper Doc to try to get this ugly high-tech faceplate off. Unfortunately, I can't remove it. I honestly expected to be able to, but it doesn't really matter unless I actively use it, and it has absolutely no effect on the game from here on out. Anyway, the Kabuki netrunner handed over the data, I forwarded it to Reed, and headed over to a hotel on the edge of the city to ambush a MaxTac transport and kidnap someone who's quite possibly the most dangerous netrunner to ever live. It won't just be us two though. Reed has enlisted the help of 6th Street for this ambush, and it's up to me to figure out our plan of attack. I chose to pepper the road with mines, set off some smoke bombs, and wait under the underpass to ambush the convoy. Before we spring the trap though, Reed filled me in on his horrific guilt over how everything bad that has happened to SoMe is all his fault. And he's right, it is all his fault, but I won't tell him that because he doesn't deserve honesty from me. Springing the trap was pretty great. My big ass sword absolutely destroyed all of the convoy guards, which is surprising considering I'm going up against goddamn MaxTac. So now I just need to open this truck and now this is the MaxTac I expected. These guys might be stronger, but my sheer disapproval for the amount of cyberware they have gives me a divine rage and strength that led them to their inevitable demise at my hands. Unfortunately, the car with SoMe has driven off by itself, which is a little bit of an issue, and seeing as she's kind of a netrunner, I think that might be her fault. I checked up on Reed, and he took some shrapnel to the torso, but he's a tough little fella, so he's gonna be alright. But that does mean I'm going to have to go after Songbird alone. Following her was easy, but the trail I was following leads into an endless abyss of darkness. So I jumped into it, and hit water at the bottom, which is great because water is perfect for breaking fools. Down the pit, things got spooky. There is an old Militech facility here, and she just got rid of Johnny, and she is looking a little bit scary. To make things even spookier, I'm seeing visions from her past, and she just slammed a door on me. While I was working on opening the door, she crossed a line. She tried to kill me with the black wall, and in doing so busted the computer I was using, and now I need to scan the thing to be able to get under it. To make things even worse, there is a giant robot now that can't be killed, and turns this game from an action RPG game into a stealth survival game. I just need to find 2 more data terms, and I'll be able to follow Song through the door she shut on me. The first terminal was easy. I just pretended that I was playing Alien Isolation, and that made things much easier. The next terminal was even easier, but after going through the door, my running away game was caught a little bit lacking by the robot, and it murdered the shit out of me. I was faster this time, and through the door, I get to watch Songbird make the very same oath to President Biden that I did. I also found the control room for a giant, ominous-looking orb that Songbird has locked herself inside of during her cute little black wall-induced psychotic episode, letting her control this facility and send that bastard of a not very gentlemanly robot after me. I tried to turn off her orb, but there are 3 components of it that I will have to deal with manually. So it is time to sneak around, hiding from the robot, wishing I had some cyberware that makes me able to turn invisible. To take out this system, I just need to break the little doohickeys on the walls. Problem, doing this attracts the robot, so I did end up having a bit of a close call, but that was a one-time thing and now I only have 2 rooms to go. The next room was a problem. I am looking at panels that I need to disconnect. I can see the wires that I need to unplug, but to do so I need to scan them. And that will be the 6th and final time that I have to scan in this playthrough. To get to the final room, I had to sneak through a big central area while the robot searches for me. It was scary as shit, and I sure hope that I don't have to do that again. This room was fortunately nice and easy, and all I had to do was interact with an electrical box. Now, I just need to head back to the control room, and the robot is back, in the same room. I said I don't want to have to do this again, so I tried running past it, but it's not a fan of that idea, so I spent the next 3 minutes hiding around this room before I found an opening to escape back to the main control room and shut down the orb. Unfortunately, our old robot buddy is back, and he is mere moments from flatlining me for good. Luckily, I'm now in Songbird's old bedroom in Brooklyn, watching through a bunch of her memories. She is not doing well. I think it's finally sunk in for her that I am kind of unstoppable, so her little freedom phase is going to be coming to an end very soon. I do feel bad for her though, because I just watched a bunch of her past, so I gave her a hug, woke up to the robot falling asleep, and headed over to the orb to grab her and wait for Reed to show up, ending my mission for the FIA. She asked me to kill her rather than giving her back to them, but if I do that, I don't think they're gonna help me with the whole Rallick boiling my brain alive situation. So I kept her alive until Reed showed up, and then I helped him carry her out of there. I don't know how we got back up from the abyss, but we're in a car now taking Song to an exfil location outside of Night City to get her some medical attention. I put her on a stretcher and the president appeared again to say hi and give me a lovely shiny medal for all the hard work I've done making this video for you to watch. I then watched Reed watch Songbird fly away and then walk off into the desert. The credits rolled and I beat Phantom Liberty without combat cyberware. But we aren't done yet. We have unlocked a new ending to the game. That's right, the ending of my last Cyberpunk video is about to be decanonized for the most cognitively dissonant ending imaginable. I woke up in my apartment mid-conversation with Johnny. He is not a fan of how I handled the DLC, because of my whole helping the government thing not really gelling well with his whole anti-establishment shtick. We had a nice chat though, so I went to have a nice chat with not Idris Elba next. Left, waited a day, and called him back about my big juicy cure. He tells me that I can get picked up from the roof of Misty's Esoterica, so I'm going to head there straight away. Up on the roof, Johnny decided to throw a tantrum, because this treatment is kind of going to absolutely kill the shit out of him, and he's understandably not very happy about that, but his pride prevents him from begging for his life, and that bitch would have to be on his knees to change my mind. So I called Reed for the pickup and hopped in the AV with some strangers to get my brain fixed. In the AV, I had one final conversation with Johnny. It was getting pretty emotional, and Mr. Doctor Man doesn't like that. So Johnny left me with one final question. Can we find it in our hearts to forgive each other? I said no. Took a nap, did a surgery, and woke up with Reed looking at me kind of funny. He has 2 pieces of good news for me and 1 piece of bad news. The good news is, the surgery was a success. I am no longer dying. And even better than that, I can no longer use any cyberware. This is great, and a real dream come true. But I am still capable of using my personal link, which is why way earlier in the video I said I don't count that as using cyberware for the challenge. The bad news, I've been asleep for 2 years. So, I took a photo for the thumbnail, called some people up, and only Vic answered. But everyone, including V, is acting like the no cyberware makes it so I can't be a mercenary anymore. But I think all of you know that that just isn't true. I went to Vic's clinic anyway so that he could try to change this. He can't, which is fine. But what isn't fine is some mean guys outside of the clinic beat me up, which totally wouldn't have happened if I still had my sword. But on the bright side, Misty showed up and we talked. But unfortunately, regardless of the fact that V did just fine without cyberware in 2 videos, totaling a length of 90 minutes, he has decided to quit the mercenary life and become just another face in the crowd, ending his journey and this challenge. And that is how I beat Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty without combat cyberware. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you want some more videos like this, subscribe, comment if you have anything to say, like the video, and stay tuned for what's coming next.